MMA Boxing Talk here. Just wanted to make a quick recap video on last night's epic, classic, instant classic. Um, just made a few notes here. I'm not going to make this too long of a video. Just wanted to start off by saying the heavyweight division delivered last night. There's nothing better as a fight fan to be excited for a big profile fight, and then it delivers, and it also over exceeds expectation. That's the best. Doesn't get any better than that. I'm still, I've got a high from the fumes from yesterday. I'm still going off fumes from last night. So lot to unpack here. You know, what an exciting fight. Back and forth. I mean, just incredible. It really capped off their trilogy. It was the most epic fight of their trilogy. Each fight was very, very different. But this one, the trilogy, the third fight was by far the most exciting one. In my opinion, it's easily the most exciting fight in this heavyweight era. The new heavyweight era, the Joshua, Fury, Klitschko, or not Klitschko, but Wilder. Those guys out of that younger, newer generation, this was the most exciting fight. Before last night, I would have had to say Joshua versus Klitschko would have been the most exciting heavyweight fight in this era. But last night took the cake. It was actually one of the best heavyweight fights in years. Because in the 2000s, there wasn't too many blockbuster heavyweight fights that everyone can remember at the highest level, at the championship level, of course, is what I'm talking about. You also had, Joshua, Klitschko was a really good fight. Wilder's first fight against Luis Ortiz, that was a really good fight. Even Usyk and Joshua a few weeks ago, that was a great fight as well. But this one is head and shoulders above the rest. I was thoroughly entertained. How could you not be? All sorts of knockdowns in the fight. And speaking about knockdowns, this is really interesting. So in their trilogy combined, Wilder and Fury combined scored 10 knockdowns in the 3 fights. Wilder scored 2 knockdowns in the first fight, and he also scored 2 knockdowns in the third fight. So that's 4 for Wilder. Fury knocked down Wilder 3 times in their second fight, and also Fury knocked down Wilder 3 times in the trilogy. So Fury scored 6 knockdowns in the trilogy. Wilder scored 4. So that's a combined 10 knockdowns in the trilogy. So that right there, that tells you a lot. It was exciting drama, very, especially last night, just on the edge of your seat the whole time. The combined rounds in this trilogy, well, first I want to talk about both fighters, what they put on the line last night, how they both, they went for it completely with no regard of their well-being. It was truly inspirational. And as much as I'm not a Deontay Wilder fan, it's kind of ridiculous, all the excuses he made after the second fight, and all the character assassinations he's made with his accusations, just disgusting stuff. But having said that, I'll always be a fan of watching Wilder fight, because sure, he's not the most technically skilled whatsoever, but the guy has dynamite in his right hand, and you just never know. He always has that eraser, the great eraser, as Teddy Atlas would say. But I just feel that I still, even despite not liking Wilder, what I'm getting at is he showed tremendous heart of a lion last night. So I have to tip my cap to Wilder for that. Fury as well. I mean, the amount of shots Fury took from Wilder, and Fury doesn't have the greatest chin. He's been dropped by lesser guys in the past, Steve Cunningham, for example. But I mean, Fury, there's no other fighter in the heavyweight division right now in the world that would have been able to withstand those shots from Deontay Wilder. I mean, Fury ate a lot of shots, and Wilder did too, of course. But both guys just, I can't say it enough, both showed heart of a lion. Um, and you know, it might sound condescending or whatever, but at least there was a lot of conclusion in this. But the condescending part would be, you know, Wilder kept talking about wanting to go out on a shield after the second fight. Well, he did in this trilogy, so at least he has no regrets, what ifs. That's the conclusion. That's the you know, you get closure. At least we got closure in this trilogy. Just epic stuff. So now the combined rounds between all three fights, they fought for 28 full rounds. You had the 12 in the first fight, 6 full rounds in the second fight, and then last night had 10 full rounds. So that ends up being 28 rounds. Personally, I felt Wilder only won maybe 5, 6, 7 rounds out of the 28. You know, in the first fight, Wilder might have won 2, 3 rounds, maybe 4 if you're being really generous. He didn't win any in the second fight, and in the fight last night, you know, maybe Wilder won 3 rounds. I would say about 3 rounds last night. You know, maybe you could give him 4, but once again, you're doing him favors. So very dominant. You know, basically Fury won like 22 or 23 of the 28 rounds. So that says a lot right there on who was, you know, the better fighter. And an interesting thing too is that, I mean, there really should have never been a trilogy fight, because the first fight was a draw, so that's even. Second fight, Fury destroys him. You get the better of the rivalry. But having said that, I will say that the draw, there should have never been a draw. That should have been Tyson Fury decision, probably unanimous. It should have been in that first fight. So if that would have happened, you know, maybe they would have rematched. I think they probably did have a rematch clause in their first fight. I'm sure they definitely did in the second. But I mean, you can make a strong case that Fury won all 3 fights. You know, it's not what the official score says, but basically Wilder got, you know, those knockdowns he scored in the first fight saved him from losing that fight. And many majority of fans feel that he lost it anyway. But all to say, you can make a case. It's 3-0 Fury. You know, the fight, as great as it was and as the high praise I'm giving it, it's also was a very sloppy fight at times. You know, Fury was not at his best shape. He didn't have his best fight. You know, obviously he got dropped twice. He got hit a lot, but doesn't, just because it was a sloppy fight doesn't mean it wasn't entertaining, because it was extremely entertaining. And you know, that's what I said at the beginning. You know, the heavyweight championship, it delivered, which is great. Heavyweight championship fight delivers like that. And you know, when a fight, you have high expectations for a high profile fight and they over exceed your expectations, that's phenomenal. But when it happens at heavyweight, it just makes it that much sweeter, that much more epic. What can I say, you know? And it was funny, so last night I watched the fight with family, and my dad had went to bed, so did my mom, but my sister and my brother-in-law stayed up, and we watched that fight, and they really enjoyed the fight as well. And you know, I'm explaining things to them a little bit, because they don't really watch fights at all. Maybe the odd one when I'm with them, basically, or you know, the Conor Floyd fight or Pacquiao Mayweather type fights, you know. But they're definitely casual fans, and they thoroughly enjoyed the fight. My sister even brought it up the next morning, so that was really cool. And it's always fun to watch fights. To watch fights with casuals is good if the fight delivers. You know, so many times you watch a fight with a casual and you're trying to possibly get him or her into the sport to follow MMA or boxing, and you know it's a dud fight, and they're looking at you like, "This is what you're into?" Like, it's watching paint dry or whatever. You know, some fights are really boring, but not last night. So that was really cool. But you know, what else can I say? I don't want to go too far on. I'm already over 10 minutes, but I mean, amazing fight. Nice to have closure with this trilogy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, whether you agree or disagree, or what your thoughts were on the fight and the trilogy as a whole. Tyson Fury, I mean, definitely the best heavyweight in this era. I'd still like to see him fight Usyk, because Usyk could pose some huge challenges and problems for Fury. I think Fury would have to be in a little bit better shape and a little bit more sharper and a little bit more switched on than he was last night if he wants to beat Usyk. You know, he would need a better performance to beat Usyk. I truly believe that. But that's an interesting fight. I would love to see that fight. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Subscribe if you liked the video. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And that's it for this one. MMA Boxing Talk out. Peace.